Welcome to TV3's coverage of a number of issues happening in the country right this very moment. Tomorrow around this time, constituents of Ablekuma, specifically in 19 polling stations, will probably be getting ready to see the sortation and counting of their ballots because the EC is going to be undertaking a rerun of some of the polling stations in that particular constituency. Well, good afternoon to you. Thank you for staying with TV3. We are your election command center. I am Martin Asiedu-Date. I am here with Alfredo Kanse, who has joined me. We're going to have a brief chit-chat as we await the Electoral Commission's press conference to update the country as regards their preparedness ahead of tomorrow, where they are going to be addressing the country. So clearly, this is your best choice when it has to do with elections in the country, and 2024 is gone, but as of today, the EC has given clear indications that there is the necessity or the need to undertake a rerun of some polling stations at the Ablekuma North constituency, which has had its own political ups and downs. The NDC and the MPP have been at each other's throats regarding why the EC has taken this decision. But we'll try and find out how all of that will play out in the next few hours as we await the EC's press conference. Alfred Okanse is with me. He's head of the political desk here at Media General. And definitely, if you want to talk politics, you cannot do that without bringing in Alfred. Hello, Alfred.
Martin, it's good to have you as always and be here as well.
Yeah, and I mean, like we indicated, the preparations ahead of that EC press conference that many are looking forward to will be live here on TV3. We've deployed our men who are also ready to bring you live coverage of that press conference. Ahead of that, though, would want to just give you a backstory or take you down memory lane and find out what exactly has been happening in the last few days in the build-up to this. Before that, let's speak to Noble Crosby Annan, who is currently at the EC's office in Accra to find out what exactly has been happening so far as we all await that press conference. Crosby, good afternoon. Thank you for joining us. What can you report from where you are? All right, so we don't have that connection yet, but definitely we'll be connecting with Noble Crosby Annan in a moment. But Alfred, so like we indicated, we want the viewers to understand, first of all, what has necessitated this rerun that the EC is calling for, what the reactions have been, and then maybe we'll talk some numbers as well. So do walk us through maybe a brief in and out of what has happened in the last 48 hours.
And thank you, Martin. And you're absolutely right. You already touched on a number of them. On the 7th of December, the constituents of Ablekuma North constituency went to the polls hoping that by the end of that exercise, they would have a representation in Parliament. Now, that was never to be, because at least from what we do know now, the kind of violence that erupted in that constituency during the collation of the results there led to some pink sheets being destroyed. And as a result of that singular action, the Electoral Commission has been unable to declare the rightful winner of that particular constituency's elections on December 7. As a matter of fact, there was a declaration on the 9th of December, but the Electoral Commission came out eventually to nullify that declaration because they indicated that their officer who declared Irabna Obin, the NDC candidate in that constituency, as a winner of that election in Ablekuma North, did that under duress. Now, we have a video of that declaration and why the Electoral Commission describes it as that declaration being done under duress. We'll show it to you because the NDC contested that position by the NDC, that's the Electoral Commission, that this declaration was done under duress. Moving on, this matter has traveled a path in the court of law. But eventually, there was a directive, in fact, a ruling by the courts to have the Electoral Commission recollate the results. That was where the issues began. During the process of recollation, Electoral Commission was never able to finish that exercise because every time they tried to complete the process of recollation was fraught with a lot of violence and misunderstanding. That is what led to the process being truncated at some point. Now, the Electoral Commission eventually asked for protection from the Ghana Police Service, and the Ghana Police Service did meet the Election Task Force some 3 months ago, asking that they provide a roadmap. The new IGP, Christian Tete Yohuno, asked for a roadmap from the Electoral Commission so that they can also provide the necessary security for the Electoral Commission to finish or complete that process of recollation of the Ablekuma North constituency, that's the ballot, on December 7. The NDC raised contentions about the MPP's, the carbon copies that they had. Remember, the Electoral Commission did not have copies of the over 60 polling stations that had their pink sheets destroyed. The NDC as well did not have pink sheets of those polling stations. The NPP then provided the carbon copies and scanned copies of the said pink sheets of these the polling stations that the violence led to the destruction of the pink sheets. The NDC's position is there is nowhere in the law that governs elections in this country that makes provision for the scanned pink sheets to be used, or as it were, for the validation of results in any polling station. There has to be a hard copy as well. So there had to be some point of compromise,
Certainly.
Martin. And this is where we've come to. Until this moment, the Electoral Commission had resolved that a rerun was not an option on the table. In fact, Dr. Bosman Asari was in Parliament a little over 2 weeks ago. He was asked this specific question by Nelson Roxton Dapiamepo whether they were going to consider a rerun. He indicated that as of the time, there was no consideration for a rerun. There was a meeting on the 12th of June between the Electoral Commission, the MPP, and the NDC, and some other stakeholders in the electoral space in this country. What we understand was the outcome of that meeting was that they were now also engaging as to what measures could be put in place to address the debacle that has led to the Ablekuma North not being represented in this 9th Parliament. The MPP was of the view that only 3 polling station results were outstanding. But the NDC indicated that, look, they do not agree to that extent that beyond the 3, there have been others as well that the MPP provided only the scanned pink sheets that cannot be accepted. The Electoral Commission then took the decision that these 19 polling stations that had their results not verified because their returning officers could not authenticate the results on those ones that the MPP provided. So they had to go for a rerun in the 19 polling stations. The NPP says they do not agree. What is interesting is that the MPP as a political party has decided to boycott the elections tomorrow, but the candidate says she's going to contest. So the next year, 3 years is going around campaigning already. So that's what's happening right now.
Alfred, clearly we all are waiting to see whether or not the candidate's position and the party's position would align at some point, because the party says they are boycotting, the candidate says, no, I need to be on that ballot, I need to contest. And we'll see how that plays out in the coming days. But Noble Crosby Annan is at the Greater Accra office of the Electoral Commission. He's joined us for a quick chat. Noble, thank you for your time. What exactly is happening where you are?
Right, Martin, so this place should be very familiar to you. This is where the Greater Accra Regional Office of the Electoral Commission is located. But it should be familiar because this is the same place that the recollation exercises for some constituencies took place after the 7th December 2024 elections. I'm talking about the Nsawam-Adwajiri constituency, Ahafo Ano Southwest, Ahafo Ano North, Obuasi East, the Dom Kwabenya constituency as well, or Kaikwe Central. Remember, it was also very topical there. Techiman South, Tema Central, and then the Ablekuma North constituency, the constituency that we are talking about right now. Now, what has happened here today, and I say happened because I understand that it has all come to a conclusion. It is called a pre-collation exercise, and that happened between the Electoral Commission officials as well as the 2 main political parties, the NPP and the NDC. It happened in one of the offices there. I should tell you that the media was not allowed to take coverage of this pre-collation exercise. But we understand that the NPP, they were represented by two people, as well as the NDC represented. Now, the Electoral Commission was also visibly present here. Dr. Banobio was there, as well as some other deputies of the Electoral Commission. Now, what they did was that they took 262 polling stations, all belonging to the Ablekuma North constituency. And I say 262 because 262 is the number of polling stations that are currently not in contention. That is what would add the remaining 19 polling stations that would happen tomorrow too, so that we can get the complete picture of all the polling stations in the Ablekuma North constituency. So 262 happened here. It has all come to an end. It had the involvement of, like I mentioned, the Electoral Commission, as well as the NPP and the NDC, as well as some security officials present. No objection was raised, according to the word that we have had. No chaos ensued, no problems ensued. And at the end of the collation exercise, what we're picking is that there is a difference of 48 votes. Only 48 votes out, and that is from the 262 polling stations that have been pre-collated so far. A difference of 48 votes so far is what we're witnessing here at the regional office of the Electoral Commission. Now, we understand that this 48 vote is in the favor of the NPP, the New Patriotic Party. And like you've already spoken about the party's position not to be part of this election, but the candidate's suggestive posturing that she is going all out to contest this parliamentary election. So a difference of 48. We've spoken with the NDC Deputy Director of Elections, Rashid Tanko Computer, and he tells us that it was a smooth process. No objections were raised. The Electoral Commission has gone through the entire process. A difference of 48 is what the two parties will be contending for tomorrow in the Ablekuma North constituency and the 19 polling stations that would have their elections rerun. Hopefully, there'll be some finality, and the residents of Ablekuma North constituency will be able to finally have a representative in Parliament. Martin.
Right, Crosby, thank you for that update from the Electoral Commission's office, the Greater Accra Regional Office of the Electoral Commission. So like we indicated, the EC is about to address the nation on preparations ahead of tomorrow's all-important rerun of some 19 polling stations in the Ablekuma North constituency. So our reporters are there in the next few minutes. Hopefully we'll connect to that feed and find out what the EC has to say. In the meantime, though, we know that the political parties have been campaigning. In fact, the NPP, although they indicated that they were boycotting, reports we've picked up indicate that they actually have been doing door-to-door campaigning, just like the NDC. Coincidentally, the candidate who is representing the NPP in the constituency, that's Nane Free, says that she intends to still run, Alfred, yes, and that is at variance with what the party said at the press conference. The interesting thing is, when the party's general secretary was vehemently stating that position, that they were going to stay away from the elections, she was sitting right beside him.
Absolutely.
So at what point did she then redecide or change her mind that, okay, despite the party's position, I'm still going to run? And how is that going to play on the minds of the constituents who are going to vote tomorrow? A lot of questions, especially in the camp of the NDC. So before Alfred comes in, I'm told that the EC press conference has begun. Let's join that feed now. Egbeta is there for us, so let's connect to the EC's press conference now.
These are the efforts as an institution we have made to ensure that we complete the collation of the Ablekuma North parliamentary election. On the 9th of December 2024, 54 carbonized polling station results were added to the collation. All the 54 polling station results were received from the NDC. This brought to 219 collated polling station results. The Commission informed the police in a letter dated 16 December 2024 that since the collation of the Ablekuma North constituency parliamentary had not been completed, the police should take steps to secure the premises where the ballot boxes were kept. The Commission intended to move the ballot boxes to a more secure location. In the spirit of transparency, the Greater Accra Regional Director of the Electoral Commission informed representatives of the NPP and the NDC about the Commission's intentions to relocate the ballot boxes. However, in the early hours of Tuesday, 17 December 2024, party supporters invaded the premises of the Kwashiman cluster of schools and set fire to the library where the ballot boxes and BVDs were kept. All the ballot papers were destroyed in the process, thereby denying the Commission the opportunity to use the ballot papers to complete the collation. To date, the gentleman who perpetrated this crime, though he recorded his illegal act and circulated it on social media, has not been arrested. On 21st December 2024, another attempt to complete the collation process, 25 polling station results were added to the collation. All the 25 carbonized polling station results were received from the MPP. It is important to emphasize that the said 25 pink sheets were not scanned pink sheets, but carbon copies from the MPP. Even though the NDC collation agents reported late that day, that is the 21st December 2024, the carbon copies had been authenticated. After the carbon copies had been authenticated by the return officer, the NDC agents were allowed to review and verify the 10 carbonized copies of the results presented by the MPP. Following that, the remaining 15 carbon copies were authenticated by both NDC and MPP agents for that day. The number of polling stations collated thus became 244. 37 polling stations became outstanding. On the 5th of January 2025, 17 polling station results were added to the collation. All the 17 polling station results were received from the MPP and confirmed by the NDC agents. This brought the number of polling stations collated to 261. It should be noted that the decision to accept the scanned pink sheets from the parties was unanimously agreed upon by the Commission and the political parties, that is the NDC and the MPP. This decision was reached because of both parties admitting that they no longer had carbon copies of the results in their custody. On the 6th of January 2025, 13 polling station results were added to the collation. All the 13 polling station results, scanned copies, were received from the MPP. It is important to note that the 13 scanned copies were confirmed by the respective presiding officers of those polling stations. All the 13 presiding officers were brought in to verify their signatures and results on the scanned copies. This brought the number of polling stations collated to 274. The presiding officers were made to confirm the scanned copies of the pink sheets due to complaints by the agents of the NDC. Once again, on the 8th of January 2025, 4 polling station results were added to the collation. All the 4 polling station results, scanned copies, were received from the MPP. Again, the Commission brought in their respective presiding officers of those polling stations. They confirmed the results reflected that of the pink sheets. The presiding officers signed their respective pink sheets to confirm their authenticity. On all of these days, both the NDC and MPP agents were present and witnessed the confirmation of the scanned pink sheets by the presiding officers. They also reviewed the scanned pink sheets. This brought the number of collated polling stations to 278. Thus, 3 polling station results became outstanding. It is important to note again that all these processes were captured on TV by the media. Other attempts that have been made to complete the collation since 8th January. From this point, the Commission made several attempts to collate the results without success. This is because the National Election Security Task Force was not able to provide us with the needed security. On 15 January 2025, the Commission wrote to the Ghana Police Service and the National Election Security Task Force to inform them that the collation on the 8th of January 2025 was not completed and requested for security to enable the EC to complete the process on Friday, the 17th of January 2025. In a press release dated 17 January 2025, the Commission was informed by the police that Per the intelligence available to them, the exercise should be put on hold, hence the collation did not take place. As a result of inadequate security at the proposed collation center, party supporters invaded the offices and destroyed properties of the commission, including furniture, doors, and louver blades. None have been arrested to date, although some of the perpetrators were captured in videos in circulation on social media. On 26 January 2025, the Commission wrote to the Ghana Police Service again, requesting for a meeting with the Election Security Task Force on the completion of the collation. In a response to our letter, the Ghana Police Service and the Election Security Task Force indicated that to ensure a peaceful and successful exercise, the task force has begun the consultative process for a convenient date and time for the meeting with all stakeholders associated with this exercise, scheduled to be held at the National Police Headquarters. On 4 February 2025, the Commission wrote to the Security Task Force informing them of the Commission's readiness to attend the proposed meeting aimed at discussing the completion of the collation. Once again, in a letter dated 17 February 2025, the Commission wrote to the Ghana Police Service to inform them about the urgent need to conclude the collation and requested adequate security. Whilst efforts to secure the cooperation of the Security Task Force was ongoing, the Commission engaged with the political parties on 26 February. During this meeting, the lack of representation in Parliament for the Ablekuma North constituency was tabled and discussed. The Commission informed the political parties of the processes and its efforts to ensure police protection so far. The Commission followed it up with another meeting with the MPP and the NDC on Thursday, 13th March 2025, with the view to move the collation process forward. The NDC at the meeting raised a number of issues and followed up with a letter to the Commission. The Commission responded to all the concerns raised by the NDC in their letters dated 17th March and 30th April 2025. Among the issues raised by the NDC was the lack of formal invitation to participate in the collation process, denial of involvement of NDC agents in the collation of the 25 scanned pink sheets on the 21st of December 2024, and concerns about the use of scanned pink sheets from the MPP during the collation of the 5th of January 2025. The Commission addressed all the concerns and highlighted the active involvement of agents of the MPP and the NDC in all the processes, and the agreement by all the stakeholders, that's the political parties, and the Commission to rely on scanned pink sheets submitted by the MPP. On 28 March 2025, the Commission once again wrote to the Ghana Police Service and informed them about the remaining 3 polling station results which were outstanding and requested for protection for the completion of the collation. In the same letter, the Commission requested a meeting at the earliest convenience of the Ghana Police Service and the Election Security Task Force to agree on a date for the completion of the collation. At the scheduled meeting on the 10th of April 2025, the Commission was informed that the IGP will be briefed on the meeting. On the 2nd of May 2025, the Commission wrote to the National Election Security Task Force requesting a meeting on Thursday, 8th May 2025 to discuss the collation process. At the scheduled meeting on Thursday, the 8th of May 2025, the Ghana Police Service and the EC agreed to complete the collation process on Thursday, 15th May 2025, at the old headquarters of the Commission. Before the date for the collation, the police and the task force invited the Commission for a meeting on Tuesday, 13th May 2025, and indicated that they had been informed about a pending case with respect to the Ablekuma North constituency parliamentary results at the Supreme Court, and further indicated that in view of the legal process at the Supreme Court, they were unable to provide security to enable the Commission complete the collation, since it will amount to contempt of court. In a letter dated 15th May 2025, the Ghana Police Service informed the Commission. The Commission informed the Ghana Police Service that there was no injunction application granted by the court or any other process that prevented the Electoral Commission from going ahead to complete the process. So the Commission wrote to them that there was no case that will prevent the Commission from going ahead with the process. The Commission further requested for protection to enable it carry out its work. Furthermore, in the letter, the Commission requested a meeting the following day, that is Friday, the 16th of May 2025, for the purpose of agreeing on a date for the completion of the collation. The Ghana Police Service, in the response to the letter, informed the Commission that it had referred the issue of the completion of the collation of the Ablekuma North Constituency Parliamentary Election results to the Attorney General for legal advice. They indicated that in view of the referral, the National Election Security Task Force will not be able to provide security until they receive the advice from the Attorney General. Since then, we have followed up with the police on several occasions. They have indicated today they have indicated they have not received the advice from the Attorney General. This put the collation process in limbo. In our bid to bring finality to the collation process, and in the light of the police decision not to provide security because, in their view, there was a pending court case at the Supreme Court, the Commission met with the NDC and the MPP on the issue. At the meeting on 12 June, the two parties presented their perspectives to the Commission. The MPP stated that the Commission should proceed with the completion of the collation as directed by the High Court. The MPP indicated that the scanned copies of the pink sheets had been verified and accepted by the NDC agents in the absence of original copies which had been destroyed by tax of the political parties. The NDC on their part noted that as a party, they will not accept the results from the 37 scanned pink sheets because they were provided by the MPP. In their view, there should be a rerun at the 37 polling stations because the pink sheets from the MPP were scanned copies and there was nothing to compare them with. Again, on Tuesday, 1st July 2025, the Commission met the representatives of the MPP and the NDC to discuss the completion of the collation. The parties informed the Commission that their positions put forward in the meeting on 12 June remained unchanged. It is important for the public to understand that the issue in contention has to do with the fact that the 37 pink sheets provided by the MPP and used to collate the results were scanned copies. After extensive deliberations, the Commission came to the conclusion that it will rerun the election in 19 out of the 37 polling stations. The Commission arrived at the decision to rerun the election in the 19 polling stations because the 19 scanned polling station results used for the collation, though approved by agents of both political parties, were not verified by the presiding officers responsible for those polling stations. The Commission was able to secure the confirmation of 18 presiding officers of their scanned pink sheets. The Commission was of the view that once its officers were legally charged to conduct the elections at the polling stations, and they have also confirmed the scan results, there was no need to rerun the elections in those polling stations. As you have noticed from the presentation so far, the Commission's engagement with the MPP and the NDC was to build consensus on the completion of the parliamentary election in the Ablekuma North constituency due to the stalemate. It is obvious from the above narration that the Commission's efforts had yielded no results. It is also important to note that the collation process in the Ablekuma North parliamentary election has been transparent, participatory, and accountable. The agents of the political parties have been present throughout the collation, as was the media. The media have provided coverage of the entire process on each day that the collation took place. The evidence of the transparent and open process is on record. The Commission's attention has been drawn to an unfounded accusation that it has been influenced by certain individuals to pursue the rerun. We state categorically that Ghana's electoral management body is an independent body and will not be dictated to by any person or institution. Our track record speaks for itself. The Ghana Police Service and the National Election Security Task Force have assured the Commission of their readiness to ensure security before, during, and after the rerun. We count on them to guarantee that lives and property are protected and that voters and our staff who work in a safe and conducive environment tomorrow. The aftermath of the 7th December election, the processes to complete the collation in 12 constituencies have created fear not only in our staff, but voters in general. We trust that the police and the National Election Security Task Force will provide the needed security before, during, and after the process so we can vote and work in peace. On our part, as the electoral management body, we are desirous of bringing the election in the Ablekuma North constituency to a conclusion and to ensure that the constituents have a representative in Parliament. We have thus provided a path to complete the collation process so as to ensure that the residents of Ablekuma North have a representative in Parliament. We assure the public and the political parties that, as always, we will live by our motto and ensure that the rerun is fair, transparent, and credible. We wish the two contestants the best of luck at the polls tomorrow, Friday, the 11th of January. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Dr. Bosman. Thank you for coming.
No question.
God bless you. This is no question.
So the Electoral Commission Deputy Chairperson, Dr. Bosman Asare, has just finished addressing the media and is about to take questions and just give a history of what exactly the EC has been doing in partnership or in collaboration with the political parties as they prepare for today, and talked about how they've tried continuously to try and get security to complete the collation process. But let's go back and listen to some of the answers he's giving to questions the journalists there are asking.
Member of Parliament. From 7th December.
So Dr. Bosman Asare is actually giving the Twi version or the local language version of the press conference he's given a few minutes ago, and talked about post the 7th of December 2024, a number of issues came up at the Electoral Commission office, including the fact that they were unable to complete the process because of some back and forth between the two parties. In the next few minutes, he will be taking questions from the journalists. Clearly, I'm sure that some of the answers will be in English and would want to bring that feed to you. But the NPP candidate, Nanekia Efriye, whose position currently is at loggerheads with what the party stance is, has been speaking to the media. Let's listen specifically to some of the issues she raised regarding why she's still confident that she won the December 7 elections and has asked the party to support her going into tomorrow, and expressed same confidence that she is likely or is in pole position to win the seat again. She is the incumbent and has, since the 7th of December expressed dissatisfaction about the handling of the elections in that constituency, but is hopeful that tomorrow the odds will fall in her favor. So let's listen to her. Hopefully by the time that is done, we'll try and bring you further and better particulars regarding this press conference and the way forward.
You asked me a question. Are you contesting? I'm contesting.
Yeah, and I'm asking you because this week you had a press conference here, and the National Executive said they are pulling out of that election. That is tomorrow.
Nobody is. I am contesting.
You
see my people. You see the way. You see the way there. We are fully prepared. What prepared for? Tomorrow we are going for this contest, and in the first place, I want to say a big thank you to Almighty God for protecting us throughout the 7 months. We went for election on 7th December, and I won this election with 34,613. My opponent had 34,199. We collated this thing together. My polling agents, their polling agents, we went through all that. And we have now collated 278 polling stations. Those 278 polling stations I am leading. I am leading with 349. 349. We were left with 3 polling stations. And then the Electoral Commission came to Parliament, swore under oath that we are left with 3 polling stations. Overnight, we didn't know what happened. And then they said we are going to go back and collate 19 polling stations. Now, what I want to say on or put on record is that darkness can never cover light. I am the light. I am the truth and the light. I walk with gracious God. I keep saying and mentioning God all the time, that you can never cheat me and go scot-free. The Lord is going to talk tomorrow. Justice will prevail tomorrow. I am contesting. I want Ablekuma North. Everybody should hear me and hear my voice. I am contesting this election, and I am coming out victorious because I want that election, and God will ensure that justice prevails.
Oh, no, but why did it take you so long to confirm today? Because most people, they were waiting for you to come out.
Thank you. People were waiting for me to come out.
Yeah.
Now, what it is that I knew I had won. And so I was waiting for the right thing. So that's why we went to court. Now, when we went to court, the judge says, look, go and contest, as EC has said. Okay. It means I have to step up. Sure. I have to start, campaigning.
Right, so that is Madam Ekwefri, the NPP's candidate in the Ablekuma North constituency. That's happening tomorrow. So she's again just reiterating the point that she won in December 7 and is calling the people in the constituency to come out and vote in those 19 specific polling stations. Let's find out what the NDC have been up to since the EC gave clear indications that they're going to be rerunning some of these polling stations. Tanko Musa Dr. Computer has joined us for a quick chat on this. Thank you for your time. I'm sure that you probably are currently in the constituency, aren't you? If you're not there, what's the NDC's preparation ahead of tomorrow like?
Well, let me say good evening to your cherished viewers and listeners. The name is Tanko Computer. Tanko Computer. Look, straightforward. I'm just coming from the collation center. We did a mini collation of the 262 polling stations, as agreed at the IPAC meeting, so that we tease out the 19 polling stations meant for tomorrow. We've done the collation successfully. We now know the figures. Everything is set. We, as a political party, we are ready for the election tomorrow. All along, we have been saying it, that MPP is the most unprincipled political party you can think of. This is a political party just a few days ago, held press conferences all over the place, lambasted the ECS, lambasted the NDC, and stated they were not contesting the election. They were not going to participate in the election. Just today, they've done a U-turn. These are the kind of people who want to continue to rule the people. They cannot rule again. That's why we voted them out massively in 2024. And I'm urging the Ablekuma North people to come out tomorrow and vote massively for Ewabena NDC. This is our principal position. We have taken our position that, look, this matter can only be resolved through a rerun. And the Electoral Commission saw the wisdom in that. They were against it. Today, she turned around. And she's now blaming everybody, yes.
The EC Deputy Chairperson, Dr. Bosman Asare, just finished addressing the media and raised a number of issues. I'd want to find out from you a few of them. He says that right from the 9th of December 2024, after that's about 2 days after when the back and forth and the pink sheet issues came up in the Ablekuma North constituency, the NDC and the NPP seem to have agreed to a number of issues, including the fact that the carbonized pink sheets that the NPP presented, some of your agents agreed that these numbers on those carbonized pink sheets were verified or certified and could go with it. So how come a few weeks or months down the line you changed your mind and said that no, you had reservations about those carbonized pink sheets and that you did not agree as earlier, the EC is indicating? What caused the change of mind on the part of the NDC?
My brother, the NDC has been very consistent in this game throughout in terms of Ablekuma North. The issue had to do with about 62 polling stations after the 8th December declaration. Then we realized that when they came back and said we should do the recollation around 24th December thereabout, we realized that the NPP had 25 carbon copies. We have no problem with carbon copies. Our issue was against scanned copies being used. Scanned copies, that is the difference. We said we're against scanned copies. So when we met at the IPAC and they said the Electoral Commission told them they don't have a single pink sheet, we also told them that we also don't have. Then the NPP said they had some carbon copies and then scanned copies. We told them that if it is carbon copies, we have no problem. That is why the number reduced to 37. Because they brought 25 carbon copies, and which we didn't contest it. Okay. We said, look, if you have carbon copies, we can go with it. So that's how the figures got down from 62 to 37. Then on the 37, they brought carbon copies, scanned copies. They were all scanned copies. Then the Electoral Commission also insisted that, look, they want to resolve the matter. Let's invite our presiding officers to come and authenticate those scanned copies. And only 18 of them could authenticate the scanned copy. 18. The rest of the 19 said, no, these are not our figures. I didn't sign this. This is not my signature and all that. That is why we are going in for the 19.
Okay. Right.
That is the issue. So we have been very consistent in this. NDC has not changed its position. Just that we have been magnanimous. We just want a resolution of the matter. And that is why we went in for this.
Okay. So it looks as though all is clear from the part of the Electoral Commission regarding tomorrow. But maybe in wrapping up with you, how have you held your preparations? Are you in the constituency right now? What kind of responses are you getting from the electorates regarding your campaign?
Oh, very positive, very, very positive. In fact, when I left the collation center, I went straight into the constituency, and I can assure you, look, the NDC is on top of issue. The people are ready to vote for the NDC candidate. They've seen the good work of His Excellency John Dramani Mahama. The women are telling us, the bag of rice that they used to buy about 900 Ghana cedis, today they are getting it at 350 Ghana cedis. So they are living with it. They are living testimony for what His Excellency John Dramani Mahama has done for the people of this country. And so they are saying it publicly that tomorrow we are going to vote for NDC. We are going to vote for NDC. And that is what is going to happen tomorrow.
Okay. I know I said I'll let you go, but you indicated in your earlier submission that you had just come out of the recollation of the 262 polling stations. What are the numbers looking like, and where did those numbers swing? Your side or that of the NPP?
Well, the numbers as we have it currently, we are neck to neck because they have 32,512, whilst we have 32,464. So we are neck to neck on it, just a difference of 48. That is what is separating us. So we are neck to neck on it. The 19 will do the trick tomorrow, and we are sure that out of the 19 polling stations, at least, we will get 15 polling stations.
Right, and on the ballot tomorrow, is your candidate number 1 or number 2? So it's just a 2-horse race tomorrow, right?
Yes, our candidate is number 2. Robina Obin, you'll see the umbrella in there. We are going to make sure that tomorrow the constituency is green, completely green. No blue will come here. Everything is going to be green.
Rashid Tanko, Computer, it's a pleasure talking to you, and I'm sure that you are also engaging your constituents to be decorous when they go out to vote, I'm sure.
Of course, I can assure you, we are going to be peaceful. Everything is going to be peaceful. I've just received our accreditation for our collation. I'm leading the collation team, and then the National Chairman and General Secretary will lead the monitoring team. So we have taken our accreditation, and we are going to go by the security details as set out by the National Election Security Task Force. We are not going to, we have told our people, everybody should comply with the security setup for tomorrow's election. We just want to resolve the matter once and for all. Anybody who comes there to misbehave, they will deal with you. That one that they told us point blank over there.
Okay.
And anybody who comes there to misbehave, in fact, he won't see even the end of the election.
Okay. Rashid Tanko Computer, thank you so much for talking to us. Certainly we'll be engaging you in the next few hours, probably as we all await how tomorrow will pan out. He is the Deputy Director of Elections for the National Democratic Congress, confirming that their candidate is number 2 on the ballot. The NPP's candidate is number 1 on the ballot. So clearly the battle lines are drawn, and constituents in Ablekuma North will be pouring out tomorrow in 19 polling stations to cast their ballot, to bring finality to this debacle of who will be representing the constituents in Parliament, which has been, about 6-7 months in session. So let's also stay on some individuals who've been monitoring this particular issue the last few months. Professor Smart Sapong has joined us for a quick chat. Prof, thank you for your time. As a political watcher yourself, what are your general observations of what the EC has said in terms of the efforts they've put in to try and bring finality to this issue? And then we can come to some of the expectations ahead of tomorrow.
Well, Martin, thank you so much. And I think it was announced some few days back, and we heard objection from the NPP. My view was that they were pursuing a court case, and that once the court gives clearance, they were going to comply and compete. So be it. I think 2 days ago or so, the court gave those clearance. And today I've seen from your own media houses and many more, the NPP also involved, as we all expected. Political parties are election machines, and ready or not, you may have to prepare at all times to contest in one election or the other. That is a political party. And so the earlier objection, I felt, and I said on your station then, that perhaps it is a way of trying to beef up their case in court, and that if the court should decide otherwise, they as a political party would have to fall in. And true to it, we have seen them involved in some level of finishing touches ahead of tomorrow. I think what has happened should be a lesson to us. Tomorrow we know is going to be better and more peaceful than it did during the collation of this same constituency in question. I mean, how come NDC couldn't produce a single carbon copy? In fact, that is even a participating political party. So the bigger question is, how come the EC itself, the one that issued the carbon copies, could not come to the coalition with carbon copies? And the answer is very much known to all of us. Some tags attacked the coalition process and got the pink sheets torn. I mean, that is what we should take as a major lesson. And I want to trust that tomorrow security will be good enough to prevent this occurrence. Right. I don't think it is something we are all happy about. A simple process of elections, cast your votes, let us count it at the polling station, record them, go to coalition and match the figures and declare. All right, so what has happened, I'm sure has happened. Lessons must be learned. Right. And then we look forward to a better and a peaceful election tomorrow, God willing.
What do you make of the current uncertainty, especially in the camp of the NPP, clearly stating that they were not going to contest tomorrow, and then a few hours to election day, the candidate came to say that she is contesting? She sounded more like, well, if they won't, that's fine, but I am, in her own capacity, certainly on the back of the NPP, but she sounded more like, I am going to contest, whereas the party said, we will not contest. How does this come to you, and could it hurt or help the candidate in question?
Well, the candidate in question is the #1 beneficiary of the outcome of tomorrow's election. And I'm sure he's gone very far, invested a lot in her time and a lot of energy into the preparation. And so, I mean, right from the word go, it was clear that she is confident she has won, and she was going to go the full length to have the declaration made in her favor. And I'm sure the process includes availing herself tomorrow, God willing, for electors to decide over her fate and that of her own sister, Rabna. So she, if I was a contestant, if I was an aspirant, I was going to be the #1 beneficiary, and therefore was going to go the full length, and I'm sure he would. And the decision of the party largely would have to be amended based on the decision of the candidate. And so if the candidate says, I will go, I'm sure the party would then have to make a U-turn and support. And I think from your own media station, I've seen pictures that includes the youth organizer of the MPP and some MPs in the constituency trying to help the lady out with the final campaign. So for a political party to say we won't go on the basis of their coalition being, according to them, the right coalition and should be the basis for declaration, and a court overturning it, I think quickly they have to come and reorganize themselves and participate. I'm sure if the General Secretary should hold a press conference again today, he wouldn't repeat what he said the last time. But I mean, not to say what he said the last time was not right. It was on the basis of the evidence in front of him, some of which he made available.
But did you also get the sense? Did you also get the sense, Prof, that there clearly was not an agreement between the two? And maybe before you answer, let's bring. Okay, so let me hear from you what you make of the fact that it came across as though the candidate and the party did not have an agreement at that moment when the General Secretary was making that clear and bold statement that they were not going to contest because they believe they won on December 7th.
Right. The agreement there would have been subject to what the court would have said. And so their basis was that they were going to go the full legal stretch to have declaration made in their favor, and that on a certain January 4th or somewhere, the date he mentioned, the court had instructed the Electoral Commission to go and collate and declare. So that would have been the basis of the decision that was taken, and I'm sure it was in the interest of the candidate. Now, the court, we are all guided by the rule of law. The court has said that go back there and finish up the process, which was disrupted. And I'm sure as we all would have obeyed the decision of the court, it is incumbent on a political party, an election-led machine called a political party, to always be ready for an election. And I would have been personally surprised if, after the court's declaration, the MPP would have still said we won't contest. I would have been personally so surprised.
Okay, so well, today the EC has also given us, a chronology of how events played out post December 7 and the number of times. It's very interesting. I have about 8 times they had written to the police asking for protection to complete the process. In between there were court cases that they also had to, abide by, of course, because, as a law-abiding entity, they needed to follow what the court was saying. But after all these meetings and the back and forth, we've come to a final decision of a rerun of some of these constituencies. Does that raise any question about the EC's competence when it comes to managing these elections, or clearly, per what Dr. Bosman Asari said, they had tried to use all available avenues to try and address the issue?
Well, like I always keep saying, it's a state institution. We must all help it grow. We must pass constructive criticisms to make it better as an institute or as an institution of state. But they, as EC, must also admit when they get things wrong. They must admit that they've gotten it wrong. In fact, as you give carbon copies to political parties at the polling station, I would have thought that in this day and age, they would have had their own secured copy somewhere, different from the one that will come to collation. But if all they had was the one that came to collation, which came under attack, then it means they let loose their guard. The lesson is that next time when we have elections conducted at the polling station, they should have a storage, a backup system right there at the polling station that may even be electronically signed. We have come a long way in our democracy to be using excuses like it rained on the... I'm not saying that's what they said. So for example, if they were crossing river, like some police stations are behind the river, and when we got to the middle of the river, something happened and the pink sheet you have fell into the water, for example. How could this excuse be tolerated in this modern day and age? So I'm not really condemning them, but I think they must admit that on this very instance of Ablekuma North, they actually did not meet the expectation of everybody that went to queue and vote. But I mean, what has happened should pass. Going forward, I think they must actually secure the polling station results themselves. So that if there is a disparity between what NPP brings and what NDC brings, they, as the referee, trusted referee, would have DS to also help us decide. But if it happens that they didn't have, and like my brother Computer said earlier, all they were depending on was what the NPP brought, then seriously, clearly, they really need to up their game the next time. I'm not actually condemning them. It's an institution, it's evolving. We all wish them well. They must reach perfection. But I think they must first admit so that they'll put in measures to curtail some of these things going into the future.
What do you foresee happening tomorrow? Clearly, the two candidates have come out to show interest in running again. What kind of messaging should they, for instance, if you were to advise the NDC candidate, would you say that they should go ahead with the message they depended on during the 2024 elections, or based on the kind of works the current administration has done, she should review her messaging and go on the back of the performance? And in the camp of the NPP, how would you advise? What strategy? Should it go as in like, I have been cheated, I haven't been given fair deal, and so have mercy on me and vote for me because I actually won, as has been her message all this time around?
Well, in elections, you use every means possible, every legitimate means possible to win. And campaign messaging is one key component of the concept of politicking everywhere you go. So campaign messaging usually must meet up with the current, a little bit of historic messaging. If I should rate percentage-wise, you do just about 20% historic, and about 80% must link to the current situation of things. Because, globally, we are forward-looking, we are not backward-looking. So I think from the camp of the NDC, a Rebna cannot campaign leaving out current happenings, especially those that are positive to her chances of winning tomorrow. I can't imagine a Rebna going to campaign and will not talk about the seemingly stable economic conditions, the exchange rate, things that, and Ablekuma North is a modernist, a cosmopolitan constituency. They actually have something to do with the exchange rate. They have something to do with the stable economy. They have something, so draw them in. Let them feel like it is time for them to relate with some of the things you are talking about, so that they can favor you. All means possible, all legal means possible. And then to the NPP candidate too, yes, messaging is good. She must try and draw sentiments a little and win the emotions of the people. It will be in her interest to demonstrate to them how perhaps she would have been a better representative of the constituents, the things she can do.
We seem to have just had a cut in the transmission of Professor Smart Sapong, who was helping us, look ahead of tomorrow's very important rerun of some polling stations in the Ablekuma North constituency. Prof, thank you so much for speaking to us. Professor Smart Sapong himself, a pollster, and has been commenting or following this development since the 7th of December 2024. So, after all is said and done, it has come to a head. The EC is going to rerun the elections in 19 polling stations in the Ablekuma North constituency. Let's take you through some specific numbers that we have been keeping very close tabs on for you. So, like we indicated, 19 after the meeting between the EC and the two political parties. This is where they came to a final conclusion. 19 polling stations will be hosting the elections, the rerun tomorrow. But for those in the constituency that do not know whether or not they are supposed to be voting, maybe if you follow these names, you might then be aware whether or not your polling station is also part. So the 19 polling stations are God First International School, it's at Dakuman, Nyamiche. Then we have Pentecost Church, Mount Zion Assembly. That one is at Kwashiman. We have the DVLA office, Awoshi, Adamami, which is also at Awoshi. And then Asiedu Jeudu Memorial School, also at Awoshi. Then Living Spring Day Nursery, Kwashibu. the Lord's Pentecostal Church, Kwashibu, Methodist Church, Odoko, and then St. John the Baptist Catholic Church, Odoko. So if you voted in any of these polling stations, you need to pay attention, probably look for your voter's ID, and then get ready to vote tomorrow. The rest are Radiant Way Preparatory School, North Odoko, Atiko School Complex at Odoko, South Odoko 4 and 5 School, and then Pentecost Church, Chineboa, which is at Otateng in the Ablekuma North constituency. We have Light of Gospel Miracle Church, Chineboa, MTTD Odoko Divisional Station at Odoko, Roman Catholic Church, Buzia Junction, and then Bethel Baptist Church, Sakaman. These are the constituencies that the constituents are expected to turn up to vote at. And these are the 19 polling stations, I should say. The rest, making or concluding the list, we have Presby Church at Odoko, we have Church of Pentecost, North Odoko, and then also Church of Pentecost, same area. So it means that at that polling station, there are 4 specific booths that you would have to go and vote at. So I'm sure the EC officials, when you get there, they will direct based on where your name is situated on which of the booths you are supposed to go and vote at. So those are the 19 specific polling centers the EC will be using tomorrow. Then this is just by way of updating you on what to expect tomorrow. And like the EC Deputy Chair, Dr. Bosman Asari, indicated, they have prepared all they can. They have finished all agreements with the political parties and will be deploying very early hours of tomorrow. And we, your Election Command Center, will be there as well to help you follow through to see how the constituents are going to vote. Would they vote the same way as they voted since 1996, where the NPP has won the Ablekuma North constituency, since then? Or this time around, just like it happened at Dom Kwabenya, the seat at Ablekuma North is going to flip to the side of the NDC. That's what the NDC is hopeful for, and their candidate, Rabna Obeng, has also been speaking about it. But before we bring you what Rabna Obeng has been saying, and you also heard Madam Ekwefriye, let's go back to what the NPP's General Secretary has been saying. You recall that we indicated that moments after the Electoral Commission came out to say that because they were not able to come to a consensus as regards how to finish the Ablekuma North constituency, they have to go and rerun some of the polling centers. The NPP came out to the media to say that they disagreed with the EC because they know that they won and were not going to contest. Some people say they doubt what we are saying. Listen to Justin Kodria Frimpong, General Secretary of the NPP, himself saying why they would not contest on the 11th, which is tomorrow, the rerun in the Ablekuma North constituency.
And therefore, it comes as very shocking that the Electoral Commission, the inconsistency from the Electoral Commission is a shame. But for us in the New Patriotic Party, we remain resolute. And we know that our candidate, Nana Ekwefriye, won the elections with a margin of 440 votes.
Earlier, and then you mentioned it was ongoing. It has finished now?
Yes. We finished successfully. Everything went on smoothly. The NPP were there. The Electoral Commission, represented by the Director of Elections, Electoral Service and the deputies, Mr. Kwaku. And the figures, we all agree to it. The 262 polling stations as collated. We ended up the NPP having 32,512, whilst the NDC, we have 32,464. That means a difference of 48, and that is what we are going to battle out tomorrow. So everything is set for tomorrow.
All right. And the NPP, they didn't raise any objection in any of the 262 that has been collated so far?
No, at all. They didn't. In fact, they had problem with their calculations, and we realized that one polling stations, instead of 143, they put in their system as 145. So it was making them a shortfall of 2. So when they raised it, we said we should go back and go through the figures one after the other. So we went through it and they realized that they made a mistake. Instead of 143, they put 145. So the difference
is
48. It's still maintained the difference as from the 262 polling station, it's 48.
Right.
That is separating us. It's a battleground, and we are sure of winning tomorrow.
No, thank you.
Right, so you heard the General Secretary first of the NPP, Justin Kodua-Frimpong, at that press conference when they said that they were not going to contest. But from all indications now, Madam Akia Efriye, who is the candidate of the NPP, will be contesting. And on your screens now, you can see the two women who are contesting. I mean, the good news for the women advocates is that whoever wins, it is going to be a female rep that will be in Parliament, for the constituents of Ablekuma North. However, the information we've also got is that Ablekuma, Akia Efriye is number 1 on the ballot paper. The NPP is number 1 on the ballot paper. The NDC is number 2 on the ballot paper. Irabna Obeng is their representative. So let's also speak to Professor Doke, Victor Doke, who, amongst other hats he wears, is also a security consultant, and to find out what he makes of what the EC has been saying and what kind of preparations they should put in ahead of tomorrow. Doc, thank you for your time. Prof, I should say. Thank you for joining us on your Election Command Center.
Thank you, Martin, for giving me the promotion to call, but I'm still a doctor now. Thank you.
Okay. Right. To start with, I'm sure you followed what the EC Deputy Chairperson, Dr. Bosman Asari, said about the number of times they had written to the Ghana Police Service seeking audience regarding the kind of preparation and security they need to complete the collation process. It looks as though they couldn't get that kind of help. What does that tell you regarding election security and our electoral processes?
Right, thank you very much. So with that incident, it's only taught us that there's a challenge with regards to coordination. Two state institutions or two state agencies that are supposed to collaborate and coordinate for the betterment of the welfare of the people, the objective with regards to ensuring safety and then the sanctity of the exercise. There is clearly a challenge with regards to who has to provide personnel for security and who has to give information with regards to what needs to be done. But I think in all, that has been ironed out. We are looking to what is going to happen with regards to tomorrow's, re-election, or how you want to call it. But I think holistically, if we have the blueprint of what happened in Aspen North, my advice for the security approaches is that work with the blueprint of Aspen North security mechanisms for ensuring, safety, protecting the ballot, ensuring the safety of the officials, of the EC themselves, the citizens, and then they, the police personnel themselves. Use that blueprint. If you can't, just maintain that blueprint, or you better it. Anything less than that, you're going to have skirmishes. Why do I say so? I have taken the liberty to walk around on the board today. And what I see is young men energetic on motorbikes. So it's the blue army for the NPP and the green army for the NDC. So you see how the euphoria is already building up on motorbikes, displaying on the high streets. That should give a clear instance or evidence that people are not taking this lightly. So therefore, our security apparatus should also not take it lightly, and they should treat this as a high priority, thereby meaning deployment should be apt, barricading wherever they need to barricade, and then calling for assistance forward other security agencies where necessary. Proactiveness and preemptiveness is the catchword here. Anything less than that, it means you'll be taken aback.
Wouldn't that, come across as intimidation? Because, you're just going to exercise your franchise, and if you see barricades and, an extra number of police officers around, there are some people who might feel intimidated by that. You disagree?
Not at all, Martin. Not at all. This is not intimidation. But let's look at other, by-elections for that. What happened? There was heavy deployment. I say now, for example, and what did we see? We saw the process was very serene, where those who flouted the rules and the regulations were dealt with. The police were very quick to pick them up. Even before we saw uniform personnel, they were, intelligence officers in the communities doing their background checks and investigative and intelligence gatherings and all of that. This is not intimidation. It is part of the mandate that the Ghana Police or the State Service will have to provide. Other than that, what has led to this situation is the fact that we were not able to put one or two together, and we are here. So we shouldn't let it happen again. Otherwise, then we have failed as a security, apparatus.
Right. But should we be concerned about the fact that the EC themselves acknowledge that right through the campaign period, the voting period, I'm talking about December 2024, and post that date, a number of times they have tried to recollate the constituency results. There was violence, there was crazy chaos, and all of this was on TV, social media videos of individuals who were, perpetrating this chaos. But as we speak, the EC official just told us that nobody has been arrested, no prosecution has come up. Should we be concerned about that?
Yeah, so there are lessons that have been learned from all that as you narrated nicely, Martin. So I don't expect that the ills in 2024 elections will be repeated. That means we haven't learned anything. We haven't picked up any positives. And we are still doing things the same way, and it's become a norm. So I think if the EC has identified that there are people from 2024 who may pose problems, I think they should send their names to the police service for them to do what? Pick up and then talk to. It's just inviting them to be cautious. But I don't expect that anybody who flouts the rules and regulations, right? You're talking about just going, vote, you collect the results, and you announce. There shouldn't be a problem. The problem is when we have inconsistency. Okay? Now, security-wise, when any citizen flouts the rules, including the political elite of both devices, it should be picked up irrespective of whoever is in power or not. I don't expect any kind of provision with regards to whoever flouts the rules. It should be picked up and serve as a what? A deterrent to the others. If we do not do that, then what will happen is if we have 2 or 3 people flouting the laws and they are not picked up, it sends a signal and we may have it. We may have kills that we may not be able to control. So whoever has flouted the rules and may cause a problem, the name should be sent to the police, to be invited, to be cautioned. So if we go to the police station and you are waiting in problems, the police has every right to pick you up. So I expect that the sanctity of these elections will be upped, not like any we've seen before, because this is aftermath of the general elections, which is already a break on our state institutions.
All right, Doc, kindly stay with us. And it's an interesting point to settle on because we recall that a few days ago, President John Mahama himself indicated that it was unfortunate that we have had to go for an election where people are just supposed to go and vote and go home, and we have people dying as a result of that. So he has asked the current IGP to expedite the investigation and get to the bottom of what caused the, the unfortunate death of some Ghanaians who had gone out to vote. Stay with us, Dr. Doke. We want to pick the thoughts of some constituents in Ablekuma North. They've also been speaking about expectations ahead of tomorrow. Then maybe we can come up and wrap up with you. So our colleagues who've been in and out of that constituency have engaged a number of the constituents, and these are the thoughts they shared with us.
My personal view, my personal point, Abluma have won. We all know. And even the previous election, he still said it. If you don't understand anything, go to court. So we don't know why Ekwe Free is still making us wake up, letting us not sleep. Abluma has won. With or without Ablekuma North, is Abluma.
The commission itself has acted illegally for re-collation. It is never in their books that there should be any re-collation after the results have been announced. So the whole thing is illegal.
That's I'm telling you that we people, the margin is huge. Now they are dragging with small margin. That tells you that there is no stronghold in Ablekuma North now. And I'm saying it again. From this time, we are going to win this seat.
The party know the people believe for NDC party is not a small thing, because this time everybody put for a man for the NDC. But I'm sure if God permit this seat no NDC take a.
Right. So, Doc, these are constituents who clearly seem poised ahead of tomorrow, indicating that they will be turning up to vote. What kind of conduct are you expecting from the constituent? How should they carry themselves in, exercising this franchise?
Right. So citizens should be aware that casting your ballot or voting is a civic duty number one, which requires that you do that in conformity with the laws, thereby going on time, going by the assistance of the electoral officers, casting your, putting your thumb on the paper, going home, you come back when necessary to what? Observe the counting until declarations are made or whatever. So I expect that the citizens of especially Ablekuma North would adhere to the rules and regulations with regards to voting. The sanctity of the process is what we are looking for. It will be unfortunate if we should have the youth rioting because of misunderstandings with regards to what collation or declaration of results. That would be very, very unfortunate. And that is why we are looking up to the security services not to take any chance. Because if we do, we will be shocked with Ablekuma North.
And then that dovetails into my next question, which is, in case, fingers crossed, we hope nothing like that happens, but when you have some troublemakers in the constituency who attempt to foment trouble, how should the police react? You are asking that they take this with all seriousness, but we also need to be cautious in handling, the persons who may be thinking of doing that. What kind of posturing should the police put across in case some stubborn rabble-rousers want to take advantage of the situation?
Right. So after this one, I should expect that the police would come out and sensitize, especially in that area, thereby reiterating the fact that you are citizens does not mean you flout the rules. Anybody who is found wanted will be made to face the law. And especially, that notion that when people think that a certain political party is in power and they are sympathizers of that party, they tend to comment trouble and think they will get away. Neutrality for the police and security services is very, very, very paramount in this instance. Now, whoever, be it sympathizers of the ruling NDC or the opposition NPP or whoever, should be made to face the law. And we don't want to see political elites calling on the security service to release people who have been arrested because they flouted the rules. That will not be good for democracy. So what I'm expecting the police to do is, be neutral as much as possible. The notion of the process, the approach of de-escalation should be there, but renege on the responsibility to secure the sanctity of the ballot. But that can mean using some level of reasonable force when you have to, which will be as a deterrent to the people, deterrent to those who want to foment trouble. So as of now, if there are intelligence officers on the ground, they should have picked up in the areas of Ablekuma North that are potential flashpoints. And then those areas be where you have to concentrate more with regards to personnel and equipment to deter those who want to foment trouble. Whoever flouts the rules will be arrested, and I expect that the law will take its course, going to court or whatever, prosecution and whatnot.
Right. And finally, I'm sure it will be your expectation as well that although campaigning is currently ongoing, the leadership of the party must add that to their campaign message of talking to the constituents on how to conduct themselves, right? Because, sometimes the constituents may be going according to law, but there have been instances where the leadership of the parties could incite some of these people. What kind of advice would you have, especially for leaders of the parties who already are on the ground leading campaigns?
Right. So you and I would have wished that in as much as they are campaigning, they would reiterate the aspect of peace, and then adhering to the rules and regulations. But unfortunately, that is not. The idea is just for them to go strike up the people to go and vote for their respective candidates. But ideally, they should have a talk on piece on how the citizens, especially the youth, would adhere to the rules and regulations. In this day and age that we have proliferation of small arms and light weapons, nobody can tell. When anybody can just rise up, take an arm, and they start shooting in the air. We don't want those incidents. So I think this should be part of their messages. Whatever they plan to do, whether to, sum the whole campaign with a grand meeting, this should be a call, a clarion call for peace when it comes to the elections tomorrow in Ablekuma North. At least they should use the Asin North as an example where everything went peacefully and other elections that have gone on. It would be very unfortunate if anything should happen tomorrow.
Dr. Victor Doke, always a pleasure talking to you. Thank you so much for your time and for making time to speak to us. So you had Dr. Victor Doke, who is a security analyst, among several other hats he wears, and has been sharing his thoughts on what he expects, especially of the security services. This time around is largely going to be the Ghana Police Service, and says that if they feel they may be unable to handle the situation, they can call the sister security services as backup, so we can have a smooth exercise, and advised that they take this election tomorrow very seriously, because it could be a test of their potency when it comes to managing some of these kinds of situations. So a lot of issues he touched on, and I'm sure that for all of you who've been following, you can agree largely with what he expects of the security agencies, the constituents, the leadership of the parties, and the Electoral Commission for that matter. So like we indicated, for those of you who probably are just joining us, what we've been doing in the last hour or so, hour and a half or so, is that the EC just addressed the entire country, updating us on what led to their final decision, declaring the 11th of July, which is tomorrow, as a day to conclude all the uncertainty surrounding the Ablekuma North constituency. They say, or the EC says that they have had several meetings with the parties. They've tried to get the police to give them security to collate and complete the process, but that has been quite a challenge. But hopefully by end of tomorrow, they are going to be ending all of this long wait, and constituents of Ablekuma North will get to know who will represent them in Parliament. And on your screens, you can see the two candidates who are going to be on the ballot tomorrow. Number one will be the NPP's candidate, because I'm sure the EC is using the ballot positioning from the last elections, where the NPP was number one on the ballot. And then the next candidate is the NDC's candidate, Abluma North. So is Nana Ekia Efriye, who is the incumbent MP, but is not in Parliament because, of course, the election that would have taken her to Parliament is under contention, and that is likely to be resolved tomorrow. It's coming up against Abluma North of the NDC. And a bit of history or what has brought us thus far. Voting took place, and then the process was scuttled at a number of polling stations, collation centers, I should say. That was on the 7th of December. And since then, every other attempt to try and resolve the issue did not, see the light of day. The EC official at the collation center on the 10th of December, 3 days after the election, actually declared the NDC's Abluma North as winner. But that has been bone of contention. The EC, the NPP candidate, disagreed, and the EC took the issue to the EC. The EC authority came out to nullify that result based on some of the scuffles they had reported and the fact that they didn't have the full complements of the pink sheets, which has the numbers to tally. And again, like I indicated, a number of times they've tried to collate the results. They could not come to a finality. So the EC nullified it 10 days after Abluma North was declared winner, and again has set a new date. So the issue ended up in court, a number of litigations, and the Supreme Court finally asked the EC to try and complete the process. That's when the EC started engaging the security task force, writing to the Ghana Police Service that we need assistance to complete this process. That could also not materialize fully as expected. So On the back of that, on the 4th of January, another court decision, the High Court ordered the EC to go back and try and complete the process. So we are now in 2025, started from 2024 in the new year. Again, several days after the elections, we seem to have had an uncertainty surrounding the constituency. Then multiple collation attempts, the EC again was unable to declare the results. Then on the 2nd of July, after a meeting between the Electoral Commission, the NDC and the NPP, there was a consensus that 19 polling stations in the constituency needed a rerun. And that's what is going to be happening on the 11th of July tomorrow. And here at your Election Command Center, we'll be keeping very close tabs on what will play out. And like we have indicated, right from 5 a.m. when the EC officials are expected to have deployed their men and the materials needed for the electoral process, we will be on the ground. And so right through New Day tomorrow, we'll be touching base with our reporters whom we would have deployed to the area to gauge the mood of what the constituents are saying. And when voting starts at 7 a.m., we would also be keeping you throughout the day up until voting closes. So we know that generally elections are expected to close at 5 or polls close at 5 p.m. But considering the fact that it is just 19 polling centers, the EC may be giving a different timeline based on the number of persons on the ballot, on the register, the voters register, and the number of them that will turn up to vote. But definitely by time 6 p.m. tomorrow, or latest by the time we will be coming to bring you News 360 tomorrow, we'll get to know where the results would be swinging. But earlier when we spoke to Tanku Computer, who is the Deputy Director of Elections of the NDC, he gave indications that a few hours ago today, he and some executives of the NPP and the Electoral Commission recollated or recounted 262 of the polling stations in the constituency from the last elections. And when they completed that, the NPP was leading marginally with 32,512. And the NDC had 32,464. So it's just a difference of about 48. And he was saying that by close of day tomorrow, they will get to understand whether the 19 polling stations will vote in their favor or otherwise. So we'll keep close tabs on all of that. And we here at your Election Command Center will keep you in the loop to update you as well on what to expect going forward. That's it for our coverage of today's live events across the country. I am Martin Esiedudate. At 7 o'clock, there'll be News 360, where I bring you updates of news in Ghana and around the world. Stay with TV3.